Hi, future self.
Hi, past Paige.
I wanted to make this video for you, future Paige, because I'm here twiddling my thumbs waiting for this yoga teacher training to start. It's going to start in a week. And I already registered almost like a month and a half in advance. So I've been kind of ruminating on what is this training going to be like. So past Paige is going to say hi to you and I'm going to ask you some questions. I hope that's okay.
Ask away, girl.
Great. So the first question that I have is for you, future Paige. You have all of these books that are assigned to you. You haven't started, unfortunately. You will, though. I mean, I'm going to read the required chapters before the first class. But can you share with me, future Paige, what out of all of these amazing teaching books, out of all of these, can you read me at least one passage or just like one thing from this stack that was really helpful and like you really walked away with?
I got you. So the Urban Mystic is the best book of the bunch, in my opinion, because it's the most digestible and it just gives you really great examples and it gives you great themes for your class. And what I walked away with, and I also wrote as part of my homework, which I'll be reading out loud on my computer, but I'll read this passage, chapter 7 from the Urban Mystic, when it's talking about asana. And asana is the poses, which is like only what the US captured for yoga. But I'm just going to read this little part. The work we do on the yoga mat is the rehearsal. The work we do on the mat of life is the great performance. And when we give a command performance, life seems to give us everything we need to find the peace we're longing for. So I loved this aspect of rehearsal and performance as a dancer. I loved that it's a great metaphor for life because everything you do on your mat, your self-talk, the physical aspects, everything involved on your mat, on your practice, is how you live outside. So in my homework, I wrote, I really love this metaphor because all of the poses have some degree of pleasant and hard. You know those poses where you just like feel really good and you're like, yeah, I'm living it. And then there's other poses that suck. It's painful, right? So just like in life, some poses are hard to hold and other poses feel like a deepened stretch, or you may feel really confident in the posture, but it's how we hold the pose that determines whether or not we will suffer or grow, and whether or not we will listen to the drama or the ego or the wisdom of our spirit. For me personally, I really thought that yoga was just physical poses until I learned more about the 8 limbs. It amazes me how much the Western society, America, only tuned into the physical part and started advertising it. Throughout this teacher training, I've become more mindful of each pose and even closing my eyes, feeling the sensation. One of the workshops I worked on during yoga teacher training was a blindfold class. And that was really cool, of like shutting down that sense to then have the other senses really come out to play. And what else did I say? My body is growing and changing, and the more I practice the physical posture, the more my mental health will grow alongside. So yoga and the path of the Urban Mystic was the best, I would say, in that series.
My next question, future Paige, is right now what I'm currently feeling is I'm just feeling anticipatory, like anxiety, because I haven't been in any kind of class or enrollment or paying tuition. Like, I haven't enrolled as a student since 2019, really, officially. That's when I was in grad school. That's when I graduated. So it's been a long time since I've been a student. And even back then, I was really into my perfectionism and people pleasing and just like really strict on myself, just putting a lot of pressure on myself. So, future Paige, do you have any insight or words of wisdom about being the perfect student and what that's going to look like?
Oh gosh, being the perfect student. Definitely that happened. It definitely, in the very first few weeks, I had a very, very hard time adjusting to student role. Because as a student, you're going to fail. You're learning. You're not an expert yet. And I really struggled the first few weeks not being perfect. I was really hard on myself because I've been practicing yoga for over 10 years. So I was like, why aren't I getting this? Why isn't this like, why aren't I digesting this quicker? Like I was really hard on myself. Also, what I didn't realize was I didn't make a schedule for myself. Like all of a sudden your whole life is consumed with yoga, from going to like, oh, sometimes I do yoga just for fun, to then like now yoga is your life for the next 3 months. So I really struggled with that balance. So I was trying, like, this perfectionism came up as well with that. So some advice, past Paige, when you are coming to terms with being a student and anticipating that perfectionism, people pleasing, not so much, but definitely hone in on your strengths. Like, what do you know that you're really good at? For me, I am a very organized bitch. So I made spreadsheets. I got really organized of when I was going to do the thing, whether that was written homework, reading, practicing, observing, taking classes. Like, I had to create boundaries. That is like the biggest thing in this perfectionism trap, is boundaries for myself, because I can go way above and beyond, overboard, rigid as fuck, or yoga is teaching you about that balance, but also right away, like, cut it right away. If you're having those perfectionism things, call it out and make changes, because you're just going to keep suffering and life's not worth it. So notice what your strengths are. In my case, it's organization and detail, and create those boundaries for yourself so that you can still be a human being and you don't have to be obsessed with yoga.
Okay, future Paige, my question to you is, how important is it to memorize Sanskrit? Now, I'm very uncomfortable because I have no idea about the language, and I don't want to sound like an idiot when I'm teaching a class and I'm saying the actual words. So what insight do you have on the Sanskrit part, and how does that working out for you?
The Sanskrit part it was really fun learning actually about it. We didn't go into it that much where it was like a whole day where we're just learning Sanskrit. You kind of just pick it up over time, because you keep hearing the same terms over and over. And in the binder, it does like spell it out. And, there's a whole Sanskrit, like, few pages on like translations. And it really is kind of like Latin, like ecapata, 1 foot, like, I mean, you can break it down a little bit, but don't worry too much, because in Sanskrit, like, if you know the term, great. use it, which I did, there are definitely some poses that I feel confident saying. We were quizzed. We were quizzed on Sanskrit a little bit, especially just the sun A, sun B salutations. So, I mean, if I see it on paper, I'll know what that is. But it's kind of the same in like my other languages that I learned, like French and Spanish growing up. It's like I can look at it on paper and know what it means, but like saying it, I'm very uncomfortable. So some yoga teachers do it all the time. I think it's a good to have in your back pocket. But what's even better is when you know what the Sanskrit actually is, like the breakdown. That's more impressive when you actually know what that means versus, oh, this is this pose. It just makes more sense when you can like actually break down the root of the word.
Future Paige, can you tell me what has been a huge lesson for you? Maybe it doesn't have to directly do with yoga, but I mean, you know, when I'm talking to you, it's going to be October, because right now it's July 2024. So can you tell me like what is a big lesson that you've really learned through these months? It can be directly yoga related or not. I kind of want to hear like a really big breakthrough, a really big lesson that you've learned.
Oh gosh, a really big lesson, a really big breakthrough. I mean, there's a lot. Some are yoga related, some are not. I'll say one yoga related one that's kind of fun. So we were doing posture clinics, which essentially means in the binder, you know, you kind of go through what the posture is. You're reading all the benefits. There's pictures. You're also reading how to get into the pose, all the proper cues, alignment wise, moderations, variations, what this pose helps, you know, all that. Like there's a whole posture clinic. It's just breaking it down and how to get into it. So one of the posture clinics was halfway lift. And I've been cued for 10 plus years. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back, hands on your shins. You don't have to do that. So when our teacher told us that, we were all like, the jaw just dropped. We're like, what do you mean? It's not about flat back. It's just about an aligned spine. And your hands can be on the ground. They don't have to be on your shins. We were taught, society. I was taught these cues that were so strict. And so just from even that example of like, oh, actually halfway lift, that alignment is actually helping me to get into my plank because plank is next. So having that flat structure and my hands are already on the ground, okay, I can just get there. So it was little things like that I learned throughout, like posture clinics and stuff in terms of just the yoga, that I was like, oh, just even the yoga, asana, physical stuff, there's been fear mongering. Oh, if my knee goes over my ankle, my leg's gonna explode, right? I've been learning on the yoga side just how it's really open-ended, and they really taught us the word dialectical, which means two things can be right and coexist. One teacher is going to teach it this way and that's right. The other teacher is going to teach it this way and that's right. So as annoying as it is, there's more than one answer. And I know for you, Paige, as a dancer, that's very, very hard, because in dance, it's this way or not, and that's it. Like, you either point your toe or you flex your toe. There is no halfway, there is no in between, it's this or that. So going from a very rigid technique to then yoga being, sure, here's alignment guidance, but it doesn't have to be a certain way, was very challenging for you. So that was a breakthrough. And then I would say another thing that was a breakthrough that was not yoga related, but girl, you got to protect your energy. And what I mean by that is you were exposed to a group of 11 people, not including the mentors and stuff, but you were with a group of people. That's a lot of different personalities, a lot of different energies. And a lot of them were very type A personality, asked a lot of questions, asked too many questions, overanalyzed, perfectionism. There was a lot going on there. So what ended up happening is you kind of like morphed into the group of, oh, the group's this way, I'm going to be this way. And it's all coming from a loving, caring place. Like everyone in the group cares so fucking much about learning and being their best selves and just wanting to do a good job. It was all from a beautiful place. But your energy went really... it went in a dark place because I'm trying to get out of this like anxious, it has to be right. So when you're sucked in that, it wasn't good for your mental health. So protect your energy means I eventually bought in the program on my own. I went to crystal shops and I was like, okay, how can I like protect myself? How can I create a bubble? How can I still love from afar and like just acknowledge who am I? What is my intention? What is my energy? And hold it close to my chest. I think that really kind of reminded me of like why I left therapy and went to coaching, is because my patience in counseling it just felt like I couldn't breathe, to be honest. It felt like I was enmeshed in their shit. But like with coaching, it's this like barrier. It's this really healthy relationship. And so like I needed to know like, okay, protecting my energy, not just from other people, not just from people in my group, but like protect my energy. How much sleep do I really need? How much time do I really need to complete this assignment? Or how many yoga classes am I going to fucking take? You know? So I think protecting your energy was a big, big lesson. And also to top it off, because I don't want this to be too long, but to top it off though, not everything is going to happen the way that you want it. It's really a tough pill to swallow, but I have this need or pattern for control. And so once there's chaos, I went a little fucking crazy. I couldn't grasp, wait, why isn't this happening when I want it to happen? And so yoga was a great reminder of like, you got to trust the process. You have to trust the process. You have to trust your higher power. And you have to forgive yourself. You have to have so much more self-compassion, like for real. You have to, otherwise you will be suffering so bad. So anyway, that was like another big breakthrough as well.
Future Paige, what is your relationship with yourself? I know that's a very complex question, but have you gotten any better at your worthiness and believing that you're enough and that you're loved and that everything is working out for you? How is that relationship with yourself?
My worthiness throughout this program, honestly, I think my confidence was pretty good for the most part. I received really good feedback from my mentors. Now, whenever I received feedback, criticism, I was very hard on myself about that. And I overanalyzed the feedback. I overanalyzed it a lot. So in that case, the worthiness was a little challenged. But the relationship I have with myself as of right now, October 28, we're almost in November. So yeah, I filmed that back in July, past Paige. You're a summer baby. And so I think the relationship with myself right now is I feel like I've just grown. I feel like I'm in this place now where I'm determined, and I paused on dating as well during the teacher training. I didn't put my attention into romantic relationships. I just didn't. And so I think that forced me to work on my self-love. And really, it's about patience. It's about patience with timing, and that, to your point, everything's working out. That was a continual mantra, and it still is. I feel so happy that I made so many friends, and that I did it. I've always said I wanted to be a yoga teacher, but I never really did anything about it. And I can't believe the certificate's in my hand. It's done. So the relationship I have with myself is, I'm really proud, but as of right now, I'm just a little anxious of okay, well, what's next? So I gotta reel it back in and just remember to be present.
Okay, Future Paige, some random questions, but what is your favorite pose, your favorite posture? Because as of right now, even though I have no official yoga teacher training, just as a student practicing yoga for 10 years, my favorite yoga positions is child's pose, shavasana, and I also really like half moon. What are your favorite poses?
There's some crowd favorites still. I'm still game with those, but I would say in my training, there's this thing called a standing section. So in the vinyasa flow, you got your sun salutations, you have core, maybe some arm balances, other balancing stuff, but there's a standing section, which is really kind of testing your balance in this way. And I really like Warrior 3. And I just notice on my, I guess is it my left side? Yeah, when we go to the left side, my Warrior 3 is so strong that I then go immediately into a standing split, and then I can hold on to just my calf with no blocks or anything. So that's kind of cool. Half moon has improved a lot, where I don't even need a block anymore. I could just balance on my own. Another posture that I love thread the needle. That's always a good stretch. And I love a good, my down dog has gotten so much better. Definitely with hands-on adjustments, and even just visualizing someone's hand on my sacrum and pushing my hips back. Even if I'm just envisioning it, and just the cues that I have now for down dog really helps. And I've noticed just even in my photos. So yeah, I would say Warrior 3 for sure. And Shavasana will always be my favorite position.
Future Paige, is there anything that I am really proud of? Am I really, is there something really specific that you grew and you transitioned? I want to hear about that.
I kind of talked already about what I'm proud of, but I really grew in my own practice. I feel like my poses are just so much strong. I just feel stronger, and I also feel taller. I just feel the way that I walk and I carry myself, I just feel more put together. And also during this training, separately, we didn't even cover it, but there's Ayurveda, if I'm even saying that right. And that's, it's 3 different body types. And when you learn about the body types, it's helping you learn about your sleep, your eating, the types of foods, your skin, your indigestion, like all of that. And when I learned a little bit about that, kind of like towards the end, I wish I knew about that sooner, because I think if I paid more attention to the nutrition part, that would have helped my yoga a lot. Because I definitely experimented with, oh, I'm not going to eat fast food for X amount of weeks, months, whatever. I'm not going to have this. I'm not going to have that. Like, I played around with like different diet things during this training, but nothing was really consistent. I did lose weight, which is nice. That was not the goal. It was just a random side effect. So I definitely like feel pretty good, but like going back to the question of what I'm proud of, like I'm proud of my practice. I'm proud that I'm still a student first and foremost. Like, as much as I'm going to teach and want to teach and feel confident to teach and just like ready to go, I have to have yoga for me. And that's what I learned in this training. Yoga teachers teach the students, guide the students. It's for them, it's not for you. So when there's a teacher who like is literally doing the whole entire class, I think that's a disservice, because they're not looking at their students. They're not paying attention. It's not like in dance where you're like, oh, I did this for me. Like, it's not about me. It's about my students. So if I'm giving and I'm providing the service, then it's really important for me to be in my own practice and do that for me and be on my own mat and explore that and what comes up. And I also, what I'm really proud of is juggling everything. Juggling work while doing this. Juggling friendships, family. I went to San Francisco on a fun trip. I went to Colorado and visited my mom. Like, I feel like I kept a pretty good schedule and I lived my life and did the program. So I'm really proud of my ability to be flexible and meet people and do things and go out and sleep. And so I feel really proud overall of how I just went with the flow in this program as life just happened.
Future Paige, what is your diet like now? Have you changed anything in terms of your nutrition now that you're being really mindful of what's entering your body? I'm curious if you've made any diet changes since July.
So I just talked about it. But yes, the diet changes. No, I really didn't. I mean, I did a little bit in the beginning of like I said, oh, I'm only going to eat XYZ. But I didn't really want to restrict myself, but I was really cautious. Like, I was still cautious of what was like entering my body. And like, oh, I'm going to do yoga for 8 hours. What do I need to eat? So I was definitely like more aware of like, okay, maybe like this type of food group is going to give me more energy. So no, long story short is no, I really didn't change that much. I just am now getting into the Ayurveda stuff. So more to be revealed of like what diet actually makes sense, but more to be revealed. At the end of the day, it's just, how do I feel in my body? I did try like the last month intermittent fasting, which was 16-8. So like you don't eat, you fast for 16 hours, and then you have 8 hours to eat. So it's important not to like binge, obviously, in those 8 hours, but just like having those small little healthy meals. That actually kind of worked for me, because I also like, I don't even eat breakfast anyway, so I'm kind of like almost there with the 16 hours. So like intermittent fasting was not hard for me. Like I said, I've already been doing that pretty much my whole life anyway. So I tried that out, and that seems to be working. I'm not a very hard and rigid, like I have to do this, otherwise this happens. I think it also kind of depends on your menstrual cycle as well too. Just kind of taking note of like, okay, when I'm on my period, maybe I feel this way, or, just having more awareness to how I feel in my body, but overall, like, what is the energy that's going to really keep me active and alive?
Where are you going now? Now that you've graduated, now that you have the 200-hour, what are you going to do? Do you have a plan? Like, what's next? Do you want to teach at a studio? Do you not want to teach? Like, I really am curious now that you're officially having the certification, what's next? What do you want to do? Do you know yet?
So what do I want to do now that I officially have the diploma in my hand? It's all good. We're all done. So I do want to teach. The final that we had in Mexico is I taught my own 30-minute class all by myself. I had a partner who taught the other half of the class, but I taught the beginning, and I felt really good, and I received really good feedback. Taught all the students, taught my mentors in Mexico, and it felt really good. And I've been practicing with my coaching clients and my friends. I've been doing teaching on Zoom, the whole training. So it's not just my cohort that I've been practicing, but I've been practicing on other live people too. And I would say that the feedback I would keep asking too. I'd be like, hey, is this helpful? Or like, what was awkward, whatever. So I mean, like, this whole time I've been really like open to what can I change? What can I do to make this experience better? So yeah, I still do want to teach. And I always knew that, but I still was like, we'll see. We'll see how this feels. This program really, really set you up for success. Like, the whole big ass binder that we have is thick, and it has very great tools and techniques to be a teacher, to build a skeleton, if you will, of like, this is how you create a sequence. This is how you create an intention. This is how you create a theme. This is how you mold that into your lesson plan. Like, there's a lot of very great resources in that binder, and it's forever mine, and I'll always have it. And I always have my mentors, right? Elsa and Bree, they will always be there for me, and I can always ask them questions. So what's next is that I just got back from an audition for a studio. And although right now she doesn't have any openings, she's willing to put me on the sub list. And if a class opens up, we'll see what that's like. And so, and I also have already like made it rain on my resume. I've been giving out my resume to different yoga studios and a gym, and the rec center hired me. So I'll be teaching starting in January 2 vinyasa classes and a hip hop class, because I advocated for myself. So that's starting in the spring, and my schedule, my classes is literally going to be on the brochure that they're going to mail out to every Laguna Beach local. So that's exciting. But yeah, in the meantime, just keep, practicing on my friends, keep applying to different places, gyms, studios, whatever. Like, my resume looks bomb as hell. So I'm really proud of my resume, and everyone like gave me really good feedback on it too. So but duh, I'm a fucking resume writer, so I have a little bit more of an advantage. But yeah, if I have the resume, I have the momentum, I have the confidence. So I just gotta keep sending it out. I gotta keep auditioning. While I'm in the groove, you gotta do it now. So that's what's going on right now. And also for my business, Paige Mitchell Coaching, I'm going to incorporate yoga and coaching. I'm going to offer packages where you can have just coaching with me, or you can have just yoga with me, or you can have a combo of coaching and yoga together. And that's really going to be kind of experiential right now, but getting them back into their body, starting with maybe some breathing techniques and visualizations, and then moving on to postures. But yeah, I'm going to marry the two together for my business, and I can't wait for that. So that's what I am up to after graduation.
Is there anything that you want to share with me, past Paige? Is there anything that you wish you could do or say to me?
I'm very proud of you for taking a step into the unknown. You only really had the website, and you were just like, time is now, let's go. So I'm very proud of you, past Paige, for taking the leap and literally not knowing like what's next. I'm proud of you for putting a down payment. Thank God it was a payment plan, but you did it. You did the first payment plan. And that's, I say this to my coaching clients all the time, like, people who pay attention. So you did it. You committed to yourself for 3 months. You were very focused, past Paige, and you wanted to do such a good job. I mean, I wouldn't change anything, because the moments you did cry and like freak out or whatever, like, those were the growth, right? That's the growing parts, the growing pains that you needed. I still will say, like, I wish you weren't so hard on yourself, but that's like a common thing. But yeah, overall, past Paige, like, we did it. We have the certificate. We did the 200 hours. You're already like making shit happen. You are already networking, and your confidence just keeps growing. And this yoga teacher training is a tool for the rest of your life, whether you want to teach yoga or not. You learned public speaking skills, negotiations, being present in the moment, new terminology, like books to read, the 8 limbs of yoga, girl. Like, that's what you can just start working on, is other things beyond just the physical components of yoga. That really blew my mind, because again, as an American, I only think, oh, yoga is just warrior 2. No. So anyway, past Paige, you freaking rock, and I'm really proud of you for literally investing in something that you don't know what's going to happen, but you were so open-minded, and it really, really worked out for you. And you were able to make so many cool friends and connections, and you did the damn thing, and here we are.
Thank you, Paige. I wore this on purpose. You are loved, and I'm so excited about what you're going to learn and the person you're about to become. Just as past Paige, please remember to be kind and gentle as you're learning and growing. But I can't wait to meet you.
Thank you, past Paige, for making this video. I knew it was coming handy. I knew this was going to be something fun. And it is fun because I do this shit all the time. And there's going to be a podcast as well because you did document your journey as it was going. So it's very raw and juicy. So I'm really grateful for you, Past Paige, for also doing that. Documenting is my shit. It's just so important for me. Just like reading my past yoga journals, which, by the way, I pulled out last night. This yoga journal, this journal dated, let's see, February 2016. I'm writing about my first time at Core Power. Okay? That was a long time ago, 8 years or whatever. Because I've done yoga before, but that was like a whole like core power transformation. Like I own my own mat. And so it was so cool to read that last night. It was so cool to read me as little baby Paige as a student. And I even like talked about like what the teachers said and what the teachers were doing. And I'm like, yes, as a yoga teacher, that's great practices. So anyway, love you, Past Paige. Thank you so much. And it's beautiful to watch myself grow and be this human that I am today. Thank you. Namaste.